ESPN article, I think released yesterday or day before, named Xmithie mid-season MVP. Would you guys agree with that? It also raised the idea of him versus Jensen. So you have him, he's the supportive MVP, and Jensen is just sort of like the C9 hitman.
He's definitely top 3, and the reason why he gets MVP is because they're first. Like, to be honest.
I think it's so hard to give MVP to a non-mid or a non-AD player. Like, even for a jungle player, oh man, it's like giving MVP to a non-quarterback. Like, you have to do extremely well at your role to.
I think because they're first and because of the turnaround with him, like he can. It's definitely like I think he's like top 3 candidate for sure.
Most valuable to your team or most valuable to any team?
Well, that's the argument, right? But I think most valuable to the team, and put him on any team right now, and he might be really good. Like I don't like honestly for what in terms of turnaround for Immortals and what he does for them early game. I've literally seen him sack his route completely to help out with like his team's game plan. I'm just like, not a lot of junglers would do this or know how to even do this.
I think Xmithie is a really great leader and a really great piece for Immortals that brought them all together. But does that make him most valuable? He's a great fit for Immortals.
It's always an argument in terms of like semantics. You know, I personally have Jensen as my.
There you go.
As my MVP, but like he's.
The truth comes out.
They're not like very high rated in terms of like where they are in the standings, but without him having like probably one of the most monster performances I've ever seen of a mid laner, their team would be like 2 slots slow.
Jensen is insane. The way he's playing, like this split has been incredible.
I'm watching him play. I'm just like, Jesus Christ, man.
It looks like someone's smurfing.
Yeah. Yeah, he's losing with scorelines of like being 10-1, and his team is like just trying to lose. And I'm just like, Jesus, dude. He's trying to drag their dead bodies over the finish line sometimes.
The stats are really win biased, and C9 being where they are in the standings, he has such a high KDA and so many kills. And
it's not even KDA. Like
damage percent.
In terms of like just his actual laning, like he's always been laning like monster. But I think this season he really like he's going like to another level almost.
He doubled down on his strength. I think that's one thing he always had over Bjerg, like just pure laning strength. But Bjerg was better overall, like in terms of roaming, in terms of calling for people. And then Jensen, he does hog resources.
Oh yeah, of course. And my critique of him has always been like, well, it's hard for him to get going unless he wins. And so like all the resources on his team have to go to mid before it spreads out from mid.
I can't imagine being contracts, like what I'm probably taught, like, hey, if you don't go mid, our mid's going to be really upset.
But no, but like the thing is, it's hard to argue because like he's actually just playing so well.
He's playing so well.
Like,
it is worth it. It's definitely worth it to give him those resources.
And especially because he's mid lane, like he can control the rest of the map, supposedly. But
that's an MVP.
Yeah, honestly, he's playing so well. Like,
all right, guys. So who's the MVP?
Jensen.
And personally, I would say Jensen's having like an insane performance.
You have to judge it correctly. Like, is Xmithie providing good value to Immortals? Is he bringing them together? Yes. Is he the most valuable player in the league? Like, the most value. Like, what does that mean? How much value you're providing?
Yeah. I think he's the most valuable player on their team for sure. The most valuable player.
MVP. It's not. What is it? ESPN's like. Xmithie's the MVP of Immortals. Like, I don't think there's any discussion about that.
Yeah.
Jensen, hands down.
But yeah, Jensen's what it is, man. Whew. This is coming from a split where I also think Froggen's been playing like insanely well in lane
really
too.
Well.
But it's like no, Jensen's like just.
Damn, that Echo Fox versus Delta Fox scrimming. Oh. Boy must be teaching him new things.
Dude, boy's just like crushing him every game. You don't even know.
Oh, dude, I actually think what Echo Fox is doing is super interesting, and it's working out a lot better than what a lot of people thought.
I would say that their current game record wasn't 3-5 right now. 3-6.
Do you think they'll be better than 3-6 if they scrimmed other teams?
I think they started 3-0 and they went 0-5. So I think yes.
They'll be better if.
But the thing about teams that have used B teams like this in the past, and COG is a good example because I know the most about COG, so I talk about them the most. So they have COG Black in house, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not like what Echo Fox is doing for the first time is something that's like not done before. I actually think it was a good idea when I first thought about it, but I talked to some people, and generally the consensus between the other people was like, yes, it's a good idea, but even having your B team not scrim other teams is like. And like both the teams only scrimming each other is like a detriment because it's like you want to be able to like really like fine tune and like finalize stuff with the team itself and then have like a wide variety of experience with both teams.
I know what you mean. It gets I I hope people, understand the word in the right way, because it is 100% correct to use here. It becomes ancestral, where you don't learn about certain picks, and then you develop your own meta.
Right. And I think that like when other teams in the past have great like A and B teams, from what I've heard, they all scrim other teams, and then they just come together and scrim a lot. Like and it might be like maybe a minor boot camp kind of thing. Like they really want to focus on playoffs, then they just scrim each other. But they've had a whole full season of playing with all these other teams and absorbing information, and then coming together at the very end. I think scrimming just one team in the boot camp style, really good. Over the course of an entire split, they have to be like such like a good team, like in terms of smart, innovative, constantly experimenting. Like it's really hard to say that it's something one team can carry by themselves.
They also have to be really varied in style.
Yeah, and like and being able to play like all kinds of styles and champions, and that's a struggle for top teams in the region. Not let alone like a challenger team.
I've definitely talked to a few of the Echo Fox players, and they say the same. They're like, yeah, it's fun because we get to like reset a game at minute 2. You know, if we want, we can practice level 1s over and over and over again. But the downside is we're not seeing any other play styles.
For more league interviews and analysis, subscribe to our channel. You can also find stats, discussions, and more on our website and mobile app at blitzesports.com.